we are right behind you. When we send our kids off to school, we want them to be happy in an environment where they can each develop to their individual full potential. And I was part of the National Kids Strike earlier this year, when thousands of families stood up to say that we are determined that our kids will not be subject to the horrible pressures that teachers have been under for years. We've had the scandal of children crying at school under the pressure of this testing regime. Our children's mental health is at serious risk. We're in serious peril. We don't want our teachers to be one set of results away from the chop. Schools are communities, and we cherish the role that you play in them, so thank you. And I know that every one of you has done a great deal to protect children, to stand as a buffer from this pressure. But the Tories are trying to steal childhood, really, aren't they? And that is not all they want to steal. Academisation is part, we all know, is part of the austerity regime that at the bottom of it is about transferring public assets that belong to us as a nation into private hands. And on austerity, I was absolutely disgusted to hear talk of a corporation tax cut. Absolutely disgusted. So if we've got the money for that, have we not got the money to school our children? So I just wanted to say today that parents and families are right behind you, and we will fight with you, and thank you for all that you are doing to stand up for education. Thank you.
And thank you, Adele, for your continued support. Our next speaker and our penultimate speaker is Stephenson. He's the Regional Secretary of the National Union of Teachers in the Yorkshire Midlands region. Please welcome Ian.
Colleagues, we're taking action right across the country today, and it's been a fantastic turnout in Nottingham, and I can see from what's happening on social media there has been a fantastic turnout right across the country. No teacher, colleagues, takes strike action lightly. People come into teaching because they care about the kids and they care deeply about the communities that they serve. But teachers know, colleagues, that enough is enough. Teachers have had enough of funding cuts. Teachers have had enough of the effect that it has on children. And teachers know that these cuts are going to lead to a much worsening of our conditions of service. And we know that these cuts are going to result in a reduction in class sizes. We can see subject options being cut, and we can see the job cuts that are happening now and that are coming. We need to fight against that, colleagues. I can also say this, that this government doesn't care about education. That turning schools into academies is not about a public good. It's actually about preparing schools for private profit. It's actually a precursor to privatisation, education for profit, just like we have seen right across America. Government ministers aren't too troubled, are they, about the state of their local schools? Because we know that, for the most part, government ministers can send their kids to the private schools, to the Eton and the Harrows of this world. Most ordinary people do not have that choice. That's why we need to defend state education. We have, however, seen their mode of operation. We have seen how funding cuts affect other public services. We've seen how they deliberately cut funds in order to create a crisis, to reduce the quality and the delivery of service. We've seen that. We've seen that in the NHS. We've seen that in the emergency services. We've seen it in the social services. And we are now seeing it in the education service. And of course, their solution to this, their solution to the crisis that they create is privatisation. That's another reason, colleagues, why we have to stand up and fight. I want to say a word, though, about the golden age of trade unionism, because I know that there will be some colleagues today who find it too difficult to get out on strike. But by and large, we're still supported in those schools by those colleagues and their colleagues' colleagues. I don't think there was ever a golden age of trade unionism. There was never an age when it wasn't a struggle. There was never an age where people didn't have to stand up and fight. The Tolpuddle martyrs got sent to Australia. The Tony Pandy strikers faced mass ranks of the police. During the general strike, there were tanks on the street. We organised during the 70s with no legislation to protect us. And the miners faced mass ranks of mounted police attacking them in their coalfields. We have not faced that kind of difficulty today. I do know that teachers in school face oppressive management. I do know that they face bullying. And I do know it's uncomfortable. But colleagues, there is a task for you to do today. And that task is for you to go back and talk to your colleagues. And to say to them that this is a fight for education. And this is a fight for the soul of education. And everyone, colleagues today, colleagues in schools, need to build so that we can stand up for education and so that we can stand up for our profession. Thanks, colleagues.
Stand up, stand up, stand up for education. 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 Brilliant, Ian. Thank you for being here today. Our final speaker, before you all get to go away and enjoy the rest of your strike day doing something productive. Our last speaker is Sheila Wheatley. She's the Division Secretary. Obviously she needs no introduction, but she is the Division Secretary of Nottingham City NUT. Without her and without her efforts, very few of us would be here today. So please welcome Sheila.
Well, thank you Nottingham City and Nottinghamshire teachers, and thank you UCU, and thank you all of the parents who've turned out with us today to create this fantastic effort to stand up for education. I'm going to just read you some of the messages of, not the messages, but the unions who have supported us. One of the things that we're trying to do in the schools is to create an atmosphere where all unions can work together. That's wider than our schools, wider than our cities, and across, I hope, the professions. But this morning I have had messages of support from ATL, from Unison locally, as well as Hazel being here today. From the NAHT, the Head Teachers Union, who are not in favour of increases in class size and cuts in qualified teachers in schools. From the local GMB, the BMA have sent their greetings and are sorry they're not able to be on the platform with us today. Shift change, unfortunately, did for that. The PCS, as well as the UCU, and I've had a message from Pasty. Some of you who were around in the 5-term year will remember the Parents Against the 5-term year, and they're still out there and they're still fighting for education. Let's hear it for them, come on. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with Nicky Morgan, because apparently Nicky Morgan thinks that this action is dangerous. What a response. We wrote to Nicky Morgan last week and we said there are lots of things that we could talk about which would make today's action unnecessary. She has not been able to reply, somewhat distracted by who is going to be the next leader of a discredited and disastrous, in terms of everything, but certainly in terms of education, Tory party. That's her priority. That's her priority. We are taking action today to stand up for education. I have never known people cheer and hoot and give us support on the way down the road like they did today. And actually, we're really noisy today, and that is brilliant. Our campaign has been, from the beginning, about wrong priorities. This government cuts corporation tax, is willing to spend up to 500 million to pursue the Academies programme, a programme which doesn't work for our kids, doesn't work for our communities, and certainly doesn't work for the conditions of service of all of those 7 unions that work within schools. So priority has to be that our children deserve better. Many people have said it, and I agree entirely with what they've said. Of course I do. Rising class sizes, less support for our SEN students, less qualified teachers. If you don't think it's happening, look at the school workforce census. The latest school workforce census tells us that 10% of teachers left the profession last year, the highest recorded number. That 25% of newly qualified teachers leave within the first 3 years, which is an absolute disgrace. Our brightest and our best are being forced to work in schools where they cannot stand it anymore. This is an absolute disgrace. This is the most wonderful profession. This is the most fantastic feeling to be with young people learning. There is nothing like it. I wouldn't swap it for the world. But I can't make up for the cuts, and neither can you. I can't make up for the cuts in benefits, in housing, and all the rest of it that our communities are suffering. If we do not stand up today, we are reinforcing the danger that the Tories bring upon us. These are our communities, these are our schools, it's our curriculum. Thank you. I haven't said anything about the complete chaos of the testing regime. Not only do we not approve of it, not only do we think it means nothing, not only do we think that it suppresses the joy of learning for so many of our young people, we also think that they can't organise a tea party in their own path. Right? So these are the people who won't talk to us. These are the people who don't think we've got anything to say. These are the people who think, well, we don't understand what the curriculum needs and the social needs of our young people are. These are the people who do not... Oh, I'm shouting now. I'm sorry. These are the people who don't care about our communities. They cannot be left in charge of the plan. They are the lunatics. We are the same people. Okay, I am absolutely... I've been asked numerous times this morning, what about parents? What about the inconvenience to parents? And we are very sorry for the inconvenience to parents. We do not disrupt children's education, hardly ever. But I'll tell you what, the workplace disrupts those children's education. The stress, the sickness, the not able to find time for children because you're filling in a bloody data sheet, you know. We're here today to say that is not education. That is not education. When people talk about leaving the profession, this is why they leave. They love teaching. They love young people. They can't get enough of working with parents, and especially in our communities. Nottingham City, outside London, is the highest rate of cuts. 17% between now and 2020. Just pause. Think about that. What's that going to look like in your school? What's that going to look like for your kids? My last point is this. The last point is this. We continue to fight for kids every day, every lesson, every way we can. Today is part of that struggle. There's nothing dangerous about this. It would be absolutely an abdication of the responsibilities we've had. And I look around here and I see so many young teachers. I was very fortunate. I am old enough not to have had a loan to pay off while I was trying to get myself started in my career. And I've got to say this to you. When we begin to fight back, we have to take up those other issues. We have to take up the student loans. We have to take up what's happening in our universities, because our teaching profession depends upon it. And my very final point is this. After all the EU referendum chaos and all the bloody rest of it, which I'm sure impacted to some extent on our confidence about taking action today and how we voted, we know that the Tories will say that class size is because of migration. Class size is because we have too many people in the UK, too many refugees. We have a long-standing and absolutely proud tradition of fighting any kind of racism, no matter how much it's leaking. What we say from today, this is the first part of action we will have to take if they will not back down. What we say today is we're for our kids, we are for our families, we are for our communities, and refugees are welcome here. Thank you.
What a brilliant way to end this strike rally. What a lot of stuff to think about. Refugees are welcome here. They're welcome in our classrooms. They're welcome in our schools. And the NUT will fight side by side with anybody in the fight to stamp out racism wherever it rears its head. So let's unite. Let's educate, agitate, and most importantly, let's organise in our schools to make sure that next time when we stand up for education, they will heal our feet when we march down that road all the way in Westminster. Thank you for coming. Thank you for striking. Get involved and get organised. Well done.